Hey guys, okay, welcome back to psychology class and the mental health series that we are going over, okay? Today we're going to be talking about anxiety, so ansiedad, right? Maybe you say that you've never experienced depression or gone through like a crisis or grief, which is duelo and different stuff like that, which are things that we're going to be talking about. But it's very possible that you have gone through times of anxiety and stress. Anxiety and stress are two completely different things. And actually, I was going to talk about both of them today, but then I started getting into anxiety, and anxiety is huge, you guys. Anxiety is huge. And I believe probably that it's one of the most common ones because you can experience anxiety with a lot of different things. And anxiety is kind of like associated with fear, but I won't get into any more of that because I'm going to ask you in your own words what you think anxiety is coming up soon. Okay, so let's just get started. Okay, so remember that we're still looking at and focusing on our SQA table. We have talked about what you already know, and we're going to go more into that about anxiety. Okay, so you've already written down what you believe anxiety is, what you want to learn about it, and then today you could even do, but we're going to do it for review another day, what you have learned, okay? Because don't fill it out yet. Don't fill it out yet because there's going to be more than just one section on anxiety, okay? So just to remind you that we are filling out this table and we want to focus on the things that we already know as our base, what you wanted to know, so hopefully we're touching in on the things that you wanted to know, and then so you can reflect later on what you have learned. I wanted to leave you guys with this verse for the intro of anxiety today that David wrote in Psalm 61. The Psalm 61 is really beautiful, verse 1, verse 3, that whole beginning of it is just talking about, like when he's overwhelmed. So I love this part that says, when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I, right? Okay, so who is the rock? Who is our rock? It is God. Okay, it is God. It is Jesus Christ that takes care of us. It is the Holy Spirit who's going to uplift our spirits, right? And I love this because you get the picture of when you say, like, my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. So like a rock that goes above your problems. So if you can go, a lot of times, guys, and I know I mentioned this in Bible class before, but I just love this verse. I heard this verse when I was in the university, that a girl had shared when she was just like really stressed out, and it's true. It's just this verse that, look, when we're going through trouble or we're stressed or look, I understand that for some of you guys, like, this whole education and casa thing is beyond estresante, right? It really is, okay? Some of you guys, it's like, oh, okay, well, it's not my favorite thing, but it's not like it kills me either. And then there's others of you that are like, look, I can't adapt to this. I don't like this, and so it stresses you out. Okay, we still got to do it. We still got to push our way through because that's character and that's strength, and God's going to be helping us all the way through. But when we're going through problems, all we see is that, right? All we see is what is in front of us, and our problems start to be what's over top of us, right? Our problems are what starts to kind of like push us down. Like, I promise, I don't know if I shared this on here, but there was a day a couple weeks ago, and I just couldn't get it out of my head, all the stuff that I needed to do and how I didn't literally have time in the day to do all those things. And I went up to grabar, and it was a Saturday morning, and I was so tired, so extremely tired. It didn't matter, like, that I had slept good the night before. It didn't matter that I drank coffee before I went up. It didn't matter about anything, but it was like there was like a nube sitting on top of my head, like just waiting to like just burst into raindrops, right? And that's what was making me tired, and I was just overwhelmed, and what is that though? That's when God says, look, I love this verse. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. You need to look to God. We need to look to God, and we need to ask Him to bring us above our problems. Because if you are in your problems, that's all you're looking at all around you, and you feel like there's no hope and that you can't get out of them. But if you ask God, He's going to help you go above those problems and see that those problems there are not what your life is defined by, and that God is going to help you overcome and superar all of that. So I just love this verse, and I love the picture that it shows that David was asking God for. So like I introduced last week, we have some specific areas of mental health that we're going to dig into deeper. We have depression, anxiety, stress, grief, and crisis. So today we're going into anxiety. So think about it for a second. What, in your own words, do you think anxiety means? Okay, if someone were to ask me that, my first thing that I would say, is just being like nervous about a lot of stuff, fearing a lot of things, and things that just provoke worry in you is what I would say anxiety is. So here is an official definition of anxiety. Okay, anxiety is, make sure you're taking notes on this video, right? Anxiety is an unpleasant emotional state characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, physical changes like increased blood pressure. People with anxiety may have recurring intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts means things that just like basically attack your mind. Okay, they're intruding. Or concerns, and may avoid certain situations out of worry. Okay, so that is anxiety. It is an emotion of feeling tense, right? The stress, always worry, preocupación, physical changes like even your blood pressure is going up, you're sweating, you're cold, you're different things. And you always are having thoughts that are bothering you or worries. Like I know I have anxiety in certain areas. Okay, certain thoughts that you can't get like out of your mind. Like when I was younger, and I'm not making fun of this at all, but like for me, I can laugh at myself sometimes because we get obsessivo, and that is an anxiety thing. Like I used to literally think that I needed to check and make sure that like my mom and my dad and my sister were breathing before I went to bed, to like make sure that like I felt like if I was the last one up, like I was in charge of making sure that everybody was still alive in the house, and that if something were to happen to them in the middle of the night, it was going to be my fault. Or I would have to touch the door and cerrar bien. I would have to touch it. I couldn't just look at it. I would have to touch it, the front door, and make sure that it was locked and secure before I went to bed. But that's anxiety. It's this feeling of tension and worry and these intrusive thoughts. Like I always have these thoughts like if you don't check it, then somebody could come in the middle of the night and they could like kidnap me, sequestrar me, or they could hurt my family or anything like that. And it was all because it's anxiety. Okay, so like we can laugh at ourselves because I have like plenty of things that I could tell you about, like things that just make me obsessiva, but it's anxiety. Okay, and what will happen sometimes though is some people have a tendency to allow that to control their lives. Like it says that you may start to avoid certain situations out of worry, that you just can't take the anxiety that it provokes, and that you just all of a sudden stop doing those things. And so people that have anxiety also have a risk of like getting what's called agoraphobia, okay, which we're going to talk about in part 2, which they get so anxious about everything that they don't want to be around people at all. They don't want to leave their house at all because they're just scared of something happening. So we cannot, that's where an emotion starts to control you, and we as Christians can work to control that in our lives, because God and the Holy Spirit is what controls us, not our emotions, okay? But it is something where we have to like work on it. It can't just be something that we think is going to come naturally, because sometimes we do have anxiety that we tend to portray. Okay, there are many ways that we develop anxiety in our lives, okay? So, for example, number 1, there's genetic factors. So these are the factors that influence the development of anxiety. One, there are genetic factors. That means it comes from our family. Like I told you before, it comes from my family about depression. It also comes anxiety. 100% my dad has anxiety that I can already see that comes into my life. The worry that your family is okay, the worry that something bad has already happened to them, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Number 2, personality factors. That could be like your lifestyle and how you deal with stress. So if you have built a habit of dealing with stress with anxiety, that any kind of stress just brings you into a freak out moment, okay, where your emotions go up and go down. So you can actually train yourself to have anxiety, which is not a good thing, right? We have to learn as we're growing up how to deal with our emotions, how to process our emotions. And if we do not learn well, or sometimes it's because we are despreciando the opportunity to learn how to process our emotions, and we just process them by, throwing a berrinche, or we just process them by, just crying and giving up on everything and not getting anything done because we're so upset about it. If we build a habit like that, then that is not going to go away when we're older. Okay, that's going to continue throughout our life. So sometimes we have to train ourselves to deal with things without getting so anxious, right? Number 3 are biological factors. So there's like the physical reactions that you get from being anxious. So those are other things that you develop: the sweating, the cold, your heart beats faster, you start to stutter, I can't say it, like tartamudar. I don't know how to say it in Spanish anymore. But anyway, so those are different biological factors that can play into your anxiety. Environmental factors, the environment of your childhood, okay? So if you had like a crisis in your childhood, or you had some trauma in your childhood, those can develop anxiety later on in your life, big time and hugely, right? And number 5, situations viewed as dangers or obstacles to achieve your goals. So if there are obstacles in your way, those obstacles or those dangers or different things can kind of traumatize you and develop anxiety in you. So anxiety can come from a lot of different things: in your genetics, how your body physically reacts to different things, your environment around you at different times in your life, your personality, especially if it's like left without processing and learning how to control those things when you're younger. And then also when there's situations that are so big for you, you don't know how to deal with them, and so it results in anxiety. Okay, I know this video seems to be getting a little long, right? But don't worry, there's only one video after this that you're going to watch today. Okay, so not too like normal, but we're going to talk about the symptoms of anxiety. So there's 3 different levels that we're going to look at for symptoms. So if you want to see, is there somebody that you love, or even yourself that is dealing with anxiety? Like, this helped me a lot. I have someone that is very close to me emotionally in my family, not somebody that's actually here with me physically, that I, believe is going through some anxiety. And honestly, I'm getting excited about learning the second half of this so that I can be there to kind of help that person and anybody else that I have in my life, because there are many people, but this is just something new that came up with this person, but there are many people in my life that I want to help that have anxiety. I have anxiety sometimes, we all do, and we want to be there for each other and learn how to be compassionate and empathetic, but also how to do action to help somebody going through these things. So there's a conduct level, that's your comportamiento, how you conduct yourself; a physiological level of symptoms of anxiety, which is like your physical aspects of your body showing your anxiety; and then your motor level, which is like how you speak and how you coordinate your hands and everything like that. So let's look at that. Okay, first of all, if you see me just sitting here and I'm like not speaking, but the video keeps going, I'm so sorry. It's being weird. Okay, so here we go, the conduct level. So make sure you write these things down. Now, obviously, if you have fear or you have a difficulty in deciding something, you're not going to say oh, I must be experiencing anxiety. No, this is things that happen a lot, like symptoms that happen, or like there's more than one that's happening at one time, different stuff like that. So like it's a little bit more than just, you know, like I'm fearing something, I must say I have anxiety, okay? Also, we can have anxiety in the moment and not really suffer from anxiety that's like chronic, okay? So there is a difference. So the conduct level is that you're worrying, you have fear, like temor, miedo, right? You're insecure. You are, you know, not confident in anything, not in yourself, not your decisions, not in stuff like that. Difficulty to decide, you know, you're always worried. You have those intrusive thoughts like, well, this decision is going to make this person mad, this decision is going to make this person mad, this decision is going to lead to disaster, etc. One negative thought after another. So sometimes you just start to have super negative thoughts. Fear that other people will see your difficulties, fear of losing control, fear or difficulty in thinking and studying and concentrating, okay? So those are things that show you that you may be going through anxiety, or somebody you know may be going through anxiety. So I know last time that we talked about, like, okay, we're not going to talk about diagnosing yourself for depression, but that we're talking about how to help other people, right? But some of you guys might have said, hey, look, honestly, I'm going through some stuff right now. And so, look, I'm praying for you guys. You know, we all have different emotional things going on in our life. But this one, too, I think a lot of us suffer from some of these things, guys. And we are going to talk next week in the next part, like how to deal with certain of those things. And we cannot forget that the number one person that's going to help us with this is God, right? For real. And I'm not saying that like in a cliche way, like God's going to help you and you should just be happy. No, I'm just saying, like, don't forget to go to Him, though, because you know, we can feel really lost when we're anxious, when we're depressed, when we're different things. And God is there to fulfill our joy and to complete us. And so when we feel distant and we feel like, I don't think it's God that's going to help me, it is. It really, really is. So don't dispreciar His love for you, right? And then there are other actions that we can take with the base of God, okay? So there is the base of God, and then there are things that we have to do to treat everything, okay? So we're going to talk about that more next week as well. Okay, so if a few of these things happen to you, like when you feel anxious, when you feel worried, then it can be anxiety, okay, guys? Physiological level. This is sweating, that's sudando, right? Muscle tension, your muscles start to tense up, they start to get tight. Palpitations, that's when your heart starts to go like, así. Fluttering, like it just like all of a sudden beats really fast and then slows down again. Shaking, temblando, stomach problems, other gastric problems, so you're even inside your body is acting really funny, right? Breathing difficulty, dryness in your mouth, difficulty swallowing, you get headaches, you get dizziness, which is mareo, you get nausea. Those are some physical signs that show that you have anxiety. Okay, and then your motor level, like I said, is how you you coordinate things. So this is, you start to avoid situations that make you timid. Some people smoke, eat a lot, or drink, okay? So I'm not saying like, do you guys do this? No, I'm just saying like people do this because they don't know what else to do with themselves when they're stressed. Have you guys ever eaten a lot when you're stressed? I do that. I do that sometimes, okay? I don't know, some people lose their appetite when they're stressed, because you're probably looking at me and going, no, it's just like, I can't eat anything when I'm stressed, okay? And then some people just eat like the entire world when they're stressed. Repetitive movements. You scratch yourself, you touch yourself, you have to touch here, you have to touch here, you have to touch here, you have to touch something, right? Pace back and forth, you're going this way, then you're going this way. Stuttering, that's where you're like talking, but you keep like repeating yourself. Crying, you just cry para nada, de la nada, you're crying, right? And then you stay paralyzed, like you can't move. You can't move, you can't do anything, you lose all energy in your body and different stuff like that. That can be because of anxiety. And maybe it is a temporary anxiety, and maybe it's an anxiety that you experience a lot. Okay, so there you go. There's your three different levels of symptoms for how to see anxiety in your life or in the lives of people around you so that you can try to be there for them, right? Now there's also different types of anxiety. I'm actually only going to go through one of them today because it's going to start to get long and there's a second part to all this. And then the video that you're going to watch is different symptoms that are not your normal symptoms of anxiety, but also can show that what you're going through might be anxiety, and then so that you can go through how to kind of deal with all of that. Okay, one type of anxiety is when you go through panic attacks, okay? So it's characterized by the appearance of some of the following symptoms. A panic attack is where all of a sudden you start to have, like, it could be in the middle of a situation where something just triggers an attack where you are in panic, all right? It's palpitations. Maybe your heart starts to beat really, really fast. It's difficulty breathing. It's sweating here in your palms, sweating on your face, oppression in your chest. So feel like your chest is very heavy. Choking feeling like you can't breathe very well, nausea, dizziness, mareo, chills, what is it, calafrios, I think, right? The goosebumps on your skin, all of a sudden it feels cold and warm, and fear of death or fear of going crazy, okay? So if you have those things, you might have been having like a panic attack. And guys, like I said before, look, it could be all different factors. One thing that we didn't even talk about in biological factors is medicines too. Sometimes if you guys are on medicine, and look, if you feel like you're being anxious or like depressed or anything like that, and you are taking a certain medicine for something else, you need to go to your doctor and tell them those symptoms that you're having, by the way. Just saying. I'm not saying that every anxiety thing is set off by chemical imbalance or by your medicines. But look, for me, I am very sensitive to certain medicines. And honestly, like a couple of weeks ago, I was taking a medicine where I literally felt like I was like going into like this depression because that whole like fear of going crazy thing and losing control and different stuff like that. Like I started having thoughts like that, like this feeling of like tension and stress and like all this pressure like is never gonna go away. And then I was like, whoa. As soon as I had that feeling of me that it might not ever go away, I was like, it is the medicine and I'm gonna get off of this thing now because I do not want to be having those thoughts. Okay, so sometimes it can be a chemical thing that either needs to be controlled by medicine or you need to get off the medicine that you're in. But we'll talk about more about the medicine thing one day, that you got to be very careful when you're using medicine to control something like that. Very, very careful. It has to be because there's an imbalance, not to make you happier and different stuff like that, because you can become dependent on that stuff. Okay, so anyway, the panic attack or when those symptoms come on you, like like boom, they start attacking you. That can be a panic attack. Okay, so we're back with this girl for another video this week on anxiety. It's called the 11 Sneaky Symptoms of Anxiety Everyone Needs to Know. So sneaky means like escondida a little bit, right? So all you need to do is take notes on the video and then use the information from this presentation that I gave you and the video to write a paragraph explaining to someone in your own words what anxiety is, okay? And then next week we'll talk about like some methods about kind of dealing with it and putting it under control a little bit. It'll be interesting to talk about because it really is an interesting topic that we can learn from, because it's all about dealing with our emotions and dealing with different things that are going on in our body and our mind and different stuff like that, because God does want us to live balanced lives, right? And I don't know about you guys, but when my life is in balance with my emotions and stuff like that, like it really messes me up, okay? So it's good to talk about and it's good to dive into. Okay, so here we go. Thank you for watching it. So this is your list for today. Take notes from this presentation, watch the videos and take notes from that. Not the videos, pardon, just video. There's one. And then write the paragraph about how you would explain anxiety in your own words. 6 to 8 sentences. That's it. You can pick 6, 7, 8. It could be more, but not less than 6. Okay, have a great day, guys.